Welcome to the Unfiltered Tea with Evie podcast, where personal brands and service providers come for honest, anti-sleaze marketing advice that actually works. I'm Evie Taveras, founder of Evie Taveras Branding, and if you're tired of manipulative tactics, sleazy marketing strategies, and feeling like you're the only one who doesn't have your business all together, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we're diving into copywriting, personal branding strategy, business mindset, and balancing business with kids and real life. I'll be bringing in some epic guests, including business experts, to share their insights and real experiences in life and business. You can expect real life stories, tactical tips, and the occasional spicy Evie moment, all served up with your morning cup of tea. So grab your tea, get cozy, and let's get into it. You are in for a real treat with this episode, especially if you are a photographer and you are either just starting out or even if you're well along in photography in growing your business. I feel like there's always so many things that you can learn about the industry and learn about growing a business within the photography world. And I get to sit down with somebody who did that, who has grown a successful, sustainable photography business over the last 10 years and is not shy about sharing experiences and sharing lessons and wins and fails and all of the things that you need to know in order to grow a business that you can be passionate about and do something that you love, but also make it profitable and make it something that you can do for the long term. So without further ado, our next guest is Melissa Shearer. Melissa Shearer is a Burlington-based maternity, motherhood, and family photographer and educator for photographers who want to build meaningful, sustainable businesses. With a background in film studies and nearly a decade behind the camera, she's known for her connection-driven approach and her honest, no-fluff mentorship style. A Platinum Award winner in the 2025 Burlington Community Votes, featured in She Shoots magazine and Gallery Lane magazine, and named Artist of the Year with Unraveled Academy, Melissa blends artistry with practical strategy through workshops and creative events that support both families and fellow photographers. This was such a great chat. I can't wait for you to lean in, take some notes, take all the value out of this episode, and use it to continue to grow your photography business. So go ahead and dive in and enjoy. Welcome to the Unfiltered Tea with Evie. I am here with another incredible guest episode, and today I have Melissa Shearer, who is an absolutely incredible photographer from Burlington, Ontario. Her and I have known each other for a while. It's one of those relationships you don't know when it started. It's like, it's just always been that way.
Maybe.
But thank you so much for being here, Melissa.
Well, thank you for having me. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to dive into the photography world with you. I do like more copywriting now, but obviously started my business. I say it was the gateway drug into my business was photography. So super excited to dive into this with you. You've built like such an incredible business, but I want to give you a chance to kind of share that story and tell us how it all started.
Oh my goodness. Okay. How much time do we have?
We have a lot of time. We're
All
good.
the time. So, I guess my business started very randomly. I had been working a job that I discovered that I did not like. And I was a travel agent and it just was not for me. And I quit without knowing what I was going to do. And I was actually in a really bad mental spot. I had severe anxiety, really bad depression at the time. And I think I took about 6 months where I didn't have a job. My parents were supporting me. And that wasn't a really good feeling at 28 years old. So I had the opportunity to go see my best friend get married in New Zealand. And she asked me, can you bring your camera? Because I want you to take pictures of my wedding. And I was like, you're nuts. Like, what are you? No. Like, no, don't let me like take pictures of your day. Like, I'm going to ruin it. Like, you're not going to have memories. And she was like, no, like, I know you can do it. I want you to do it. I do have another friend that's taking pictures too. So I did. I went, I took pictures and she loved them. Like she has them printed all over her house. And on that trip, I was also seeing another friend get married from when I lived in New Zealand. And they also asked me to take pictures. And so I was like, okay, why not? Let's do it. And then I started getting like inquiries from people living in New Zealand to do wedding photography for them like 6 months down the road. And I was like, well, unless you want to pay for me to come back, which I'd love, I live in Canada. So anyways, came back and my friend Kate who had asked me originally to shoot her wedding, she was like, why don't you give this a shot? Like, what else do you have to lose? And so I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And I just kind of put it out there in the universe. And I had a couple people book me in that first year. And I kind of just like went for it. Fast forward a couple years later, I got connected with a wedding photographer and I did a lot of second shooting. That's kind of the direction my business went. Fast forward even more, I got married, got pregnant very soon after, had my first son, was still doing weddings and couples and families and kind of everything, wanting weddings to be the main focus. Got pregnant with my second son during COVID and decided I'm not doing weddings anymore. We're not doing this. So that's when I transitioned over to motherhood, maternity, birth photography, and family. Yeah. And then since then, it's kind of just snowballed. Everything really feels aligned. Mm-hmm. And it's really just taken off. Since I came back after that, after having my second son, it's just skyrocketed. And, you know, I've dived into the world of photography education and events and stuff like that. So it's been pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. And it's been over 10 years now, right?
It's been 10 years since that wedding in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. And officially this month is 10 years since I registered my business.
Amazing.
So officially. So yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you mentioned that you obviously gained all of this experience over 10 years and growing a business from nothing, from scratch. And then you have added education for photographers into the mix now from your experience. What kind of made you want to add that? Was there kind of a moment where you were like, there's some of these things that photographers need to know. There needs to be more education around this.
I was very fortunate in the fact that my income was not necessarily required in our family. It's a nice add-on, but I had that safety net because if I didn't have that safety net, I probably would have had to pack it in a lot sooner. I went probably 5 years without truly making like a good income, and that's scary because you're putting in all this effort. And what really prompted me to educate photographers was don't make all those mistakes. Like I had the luxury of being able to sit back, which I fully acknowledge is a luxury. Not everybody has. But if you're actually wanting to like make a go of this and you need that income, you don't have 5 years to mess around and make mistakes like I did. And I just figured there had to be an easier way. And so I started investing in myself. I have had so many mentors over the years in both photography and business, which I think is something that is just so important to, you know, it has propelled my business. Since I started investing in my business, it's just taken off.
And you and I have talked before about that you have to treat it like a business. Like, yes, we're creatives and we love to take photos and that's what we love to do. But the way to make it really last long term is to treat it like a business and learn how to treat it like a business.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people in this space are like, I'm fantastic at taking a photo. I can make beautiful imagery, but they don't know how to run a business. They don't. There's a lot of imposter syndrome, obviously, in this business. I think we've probably all felt it. And people get scared and they get too focused on what everybody else around them is doing. And they don't actually consider their own cost of doing business, what makes sense for them and their family, you know, and genuinely just how to do businessy kind of things like marketing, like, you know.
Yeah. And obviously over the years, like I know that's something that you're very passionate about in your business as well, is building your brand. And you have like such a, your brand is unique to you. And I think that's what I love about you is like that's something that's such a huge thing for you as well. And something that I love too is kind of like your client experience. Like you make it a whole experience. You called it like laid back luxury. So can you kind of just let us know what does that actually mean for you? And how did you kind of figure out that that's your thing to make yours?
So a good piece of advice a mentor gave me probably about 4 years ago was people will walk away from their photo shoot remembering how you made them feel. They're going to look at those photos and forever they will look and remember whether it was a good experience or a bad experience. And that stuck with me. And I was like, I need to make sure that everybody that I serve walks away feeling like they had a good experience. So for me, laid back luxury, I'm not like, I'm unapologetic about the fact that I do provide a luxury experience. I'm in a luxury price point, but I have a very high touch experience that I give my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously that comes with, paying for my extra time that I put in. We do virtual calls. We do styling sessions where you come and you get to try on items from my client closet. I have a client closet.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't even have to like worry about what to wear. I have, oh my God, don't talk to my husband because I'm not allowed to buy more items yet. He's like, you have to get
Or
rid
do
of
we
some
need to
stuff.
talk to him to convince him to get more?
Right. So whenever I've thought of luxury in the past, I have always thought it had to be a certain way, that it had to be studio portraits, it has a very editorial look, and you get like a very high touch experience, which I do like the high touch, but my personality, I'm not that person. I am not going to show up to your shoot wearing a suit, wearing dress pants. No, I'm going to be with my tights and t-shirt, and I'm going to be rolling around in the grass with your kids. Like that is who I am. I want everybody to kind of feel like we're friends a little bit. That's truly what I strive for, because if you can have that kind of connection, you can just let go and you can have like a great experience during your session and get those images that are just so candid and uniquely you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That answered.
Yes,
Okay.
it did. And I think I love that. I think that connection between like the client and you needs to be there. Like you can't just show up straight out of the blue. Like, I don't know, you can obviously, but
People do.
it's been my experience and obviously your experience that it is better to build that relationship a little bit beforehand so that everybody feels more comfortable.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had so many clients that, the first step in my process is we do the virtual planning call. And that's where we really get to figure out what the client vision is and how are we going to collaborate so that we can make your vision come to life realistically. And I will give my expertise from, a photography perspective, lighting, knowing different studios and all that kind of stuff. And then we walk away from that and we've already built a little bit of trust. We've laughed, we've, built a little rapport. And then when they come to my place and they get to do their in-person styling session, I've had so many people just thank me and they're like, oh my God, this was A, so fun, and B, it just feels like, we're friends. Mm-hmm. Then we show up to the shoot and they can let go of everything and like they're less awkward,
Right. Because
there's already that trust that's been built, which I think a lot of people, the shoot and burn photographers, they take your money and they're like, okay, I'll see you at the field at, at golden hour. And it's like, what? I don't know. I'm paying some stranger off the internet. I might watch a few of their Instagram reels or stories and know a little bit about them, but like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. How do I prepare my children?
Yeah, it's so true.
My husband.
Yeah, that's so true. I think it's a very important piece of the process and building that really good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
So you talked about kind of the first 5 years of like the guesswork and not, really knowing what to do on your own. What would you say is the biggest mistake that you see new photographers making that you wish, even as a new photographer yourself, you wish somebody had told you early on?
I have two. Okay. So the one is photographers are really focused, like hyper focused on what everybody around them is charging. And so everybody kind of starts their business. I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of photographers start their businesses and they have this like incredible sense of doubt. And they're like, am I going to be able to do this? There's so many photographers in the area. Why are people going to pick me? The imposter syndrome, right? And then they go and they look up everybody's website and they find out what everybody else is charging. And they're like, okay, well, I'll just charge what they're charging. And again, like I had mentioned before, like they haven't done their cost of doing business. They don't know how much they need to actually like break even for the year, let alone make a profit. And then they kind of get in this spiral of like, oh, well, I need to attract people, so I'm going to start with low prices. But it's very hard to transition from low paying clients who, you know, may not care about the quality as much, may not care about the experience as much. They just want 1 or 2 photos a year. That's all they need. They only want to pay $50, $100. That's it. It's very hard to convert those clients to the clients who are going to be able to afford more expensive sessions that are going to better pay your bills. So the trap is they load their calendar with all these low paying sessions. They overwork themselves and then they burn out. And then they're like, well, time to throw in the towel because I made no money. I've never worked so hard for such little money, and like, great. So that's one thing that I see people doing wrong. The other thing is new photographers are afraid to invest in themselves. And they're afraid to join that content day or take a workshop or invest in one-on-one mentoring because they see the price tag. And I think there's a little bit of that old adage, you have to spend money to make money. Whenever I have invested in my business, in mentorship, in education, in events, in getting in community with people, it has paid off like exponentially. Like I have made so much money from all of it. And I think people just don't realize, they get scared. They get scared to invest in themselves. But if you're not willing to invest in yourself, why should anybody invest in your business?
And I think along with that, when you talk about like investing in communities and going to like content days and that kind of thing, I think it's like almost a block because they're maybe thinking like, oh, I'm not going to go in and meet my next client there. So how am I going to make money off of that?
Right.
You know what I mean? How am I going to get my ROI on that event? So you kind of have to get creative with like, okay, you're going to learn skills that are going to help you to market yourself better. You're going to learn things that will help you to take better pictures. You're going to learn things how to better your experience so that you can charge more. Like thinking of it like that instead of like, I need to get my next client out of my next investment kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking specifically to content days where there may not, or shootouts, they're also called shootouts, you know, where, you know, there isn't necessarily a formal education component to it. However, you learn by being in a group of other photographers and you learn how to position your clients, how to talk to your clients. What is this other photographer who's shooting alongside me? How are they getting the images that they want? And, you know, whenever we're doing content days, whenever I've been at a content day, you know, you might see the back of someone's camera and you're like, oh my God, how did you get that shot? What settings are you on? Like, what settings are you using? What lens are you using? You know? And that's when you kind of learn all those kind of in the moment skills that you might not otherwise learn if you're not in community and you're not with other photographers who may or may not have more experience than you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to just touch for a second on like building a sustainable business because like you mentioned, as photographers, like, some of us start out charging, you know, not very much, burning out very easily, and that can take the joy out of it too. So what have you found, like what does sustainability kind of look like for you day to day?
Day to day.
Month to month? No.
Oh God. I think I'd say I'm still working on it, but for me, it's like avoiding the burnout trap. And really getting intentional about how I set up my week. So, you know, Mondays are admin days and admin, virtual calls, and potentially a styling session. But I have like certain days of the week that are for certain, I guess. And I don't shoot every day. I might only take on one shoot a week. You know, I'm also a mom of 2. So I have to factor in my boys' schedules, my husband's schedule, everybody's schedule into my business. So sustainability is honestly avoiding burnout and not overscheduling, not overcommitting, knowing how much being a photographer that has such a high touch kind of business where I am meeting with clients multiple times before their shoot, I need to be able to factor that in, which means I can't overschedule myself. And, I do kind of always fall into that burnout trap at the end of the year when it's Christmas mini season and, you're like, oh, I'll just add one more day with 12 more clients. And then you're like, oh, God. But one of the things this year, one of my goals for this year is actually to bring on a VA and to also bring on an editor, which means that I can better serve people in the ways that I think are my forte.
Yeah, because it's such an easy trap to fall into because you get excited and you're like, ooh, another shoot, book it, like just do it, book it. And it's like, it's hard to, when somebody's sitting right there saying they want to book a shoot with you, it's hard to say, I'm booked until, whatever month, because you're worried that you're going to lose them.
And the reality is you might, and you probably will if you don't have the time. I've had every fall, I feel like I get this, I get booked up kind of throughout the summer. My fall gets completely booked up. And I want to say like 20 to 30 inquiries for specifically the end of September through the middle of October. And they all came in kind of a couple weeks before their intended shoot date. And I had to say no to every single one of them because I was booked since July. That's a great feeling as a business and as, a business owner. But it's not a great feeling to have to turn away opportunity and to, not take them on, and not be able to serve them because they want to work with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You have to think of the cost of it. Like, imagine yourself in that season. If you said yes to all of these people, would you fully be able to serve the ones that you have booked, right? And are you going to be in a good mindset? Probably not. You're going to be a little stressed out.
Yeah.
It's not the best feeling.
And like I said, I do it every year. I wind up overbooking myself regardless, even without taking those 20 to 30 extra inquiries,
Yeah.
So
it's a lesson that we learn constantly.
Yeah. And have to keep reminding ourselves every year.
Yes. And you mentioned briefly about pricing and kind of like pricing for beginners, but then also like pricing for yourself. Mentioned that you're like in like a luxury price point. So how do you price yourself in a way that feels good while it actually supports your life? Like you said, making the profit.
Okay. Well, so I've mentioned cost of doing business. So some people might be listening to this and being like, what the heck is that? And it's literally like every expense that your business has annually, like writing it all out and then determining what you want to make and figuring out the numbers, If I want to make $100,000 a year and it's going to cost me $25,000 a year to run my business, then I need to be making $125,000 a year. And I don't want to work 7 days a week or 5 days a week or, and I can only take on X amount of shoots a month. And then you just break it down. So then you have to figure out kind of roughly what your average client is.
Or like it comes into of comparing yourself because you might look at somebody else and say, oh, she's only charging this much, or she's charging this much, or she or he charging this much. And like this person might not have to make as much as you in a year. And this person does. And it's like you have to find, like you said, the number that fits your needs and your lifestyle.
Exactly. And going back to the beginning when I, mentioned my income wasn't necessary to keep a roof over our head, And again, I recognize that is a huge luxury that not a lot of people have. But I was in a very different position than somebody who might be fresh out of college, university, or whatever, and they need that income. They need to be able to afford their rent. They need to be able to put food on the table and everything just to hit the bare minimum, not for just an income that is bonus money, you know?
Yeah.
So it does hopefully light a fire under people's butts to understand why it is important to know your numbers and know them well,
Yeah. And switching gears a little bit, This is going to sound out of left field now after pricing, but switching gears a little bit. When you think of photography, I always find it interesting because you get to meet a lot of people who are like clients. Like you get to be around people for your shoots, but then the rest of it is very isolating. You're sitting, editing, you're by yourself a lot, you're figuring out your business. Like it can feel very lonely. So I know that you're very involved in building communities for photographers. And what made you decide to do that instead of just accepting that it's lonely and isolating?
I think, honestly, I had attended a few workshops and I always left feeling super energized because I'd been in like this community aspect. But then there was no like effort to kind of like maintain the conversation and maintain the community beyond that one event. So an opportunity came up with Laura from All Who Wander Flower Farm. And she was like, I want to create these community events for photographers and I need a photographer to help me. And would you be interested? And I was like, absolutely. And then, you know, having never run any events before, I was like, well, I think I'm a little out of my depth, you know? So that's how we wound up bringing Lucia, from Lucia Iglesias Photography on. And together we created this little community. Cultivate, Capture, Connection is what we call it. And they're content days. And they're all at All Who Wander Flower Farm in Dundas, which is a gorgeous photo spot. If you haven't been, you got to check it out. It's really, honestly, something really cool to experience. But we wanted to create it because, like you said, it is isolating. You go, you get to be super social for a couple hours, and then you sit in front of your computer for however long it takes you to edit and work on getting your next clients. And yeah, there's a lot of solo computer time. So if you don't make the effort to actually get out, it does wind up being very lonely.
Yeah. So with the events that you run, the workshops and the content days, what do you really want people to walk away feeling beyond just the skills that they're learning? Because I know you have like some good skill workshops as well, but beyond that.
Yeah. I want them to feel empowered that they've taken these beautiful photos, because with most of my workshops and like the more educational ones, we always do have practical shooting time as well. So I want them to feel empowered. I want them to like walk away and be like, yeah, you know what? I can walk into that dark room and I know exactly how I'm going to get, like what I need to do to get an image that's going to look good. Mm-hmm. I want them to walk away knowing that they have somebody that they can bounce questions off of, that they have a community that, you know, is eager to, you know, stay invested and stay, like helpful, I guess.
Yeah. To keep on the course and stay, what's the word? Ambitious, motivated.
Yeah, exactly. And I want them to walk away like, just feeling really proud of themselves for getting these images and for taking the chance to, you know, maybe step outside their comfort zone, come to an event where they don't know anybody, and, you know, hopefully walk away with a few new friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You mentioned already that you're a mom of 2. How old are your boys again?
4 and 6.5.
4 and 6.5. So yeah, same age as my girls as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So fun. Such a fun age.
Yeah, it's great. You have girls though.
Yeah. So you photograph a lot of the phases of motherhood, like maternity, birth, newborn, as the kids get older, but you're also navigating that for yourself. So I'm curious if being a mom affects how you show up for your clients and how you run your business. Absolutely.
I think especially like if I know a family might have young children, you know, I approach every shoot. It comes with like, you know, factoring in nap times and factoring in, you know, knowing that typically if we have a preschooler or younger, earlier in the day is likely going to work better than 5, 6, 7, you know, witching hour and past bedtime. You know, some photographers that I know who may not be parents, you know, they're like, oh, well, you know, they know their kids and they're, you know, if they want these photos, well, it has to be at golden hour in June, which is 8 o'clock, you know, in their right mind knows, like, is going to keep a 2 or 3 year old up till 8 o'clock Typically,
Typically.
there are some people that have their kids stay up late, but you
Yeah.
know,
But are the kids happy about it? That's the
exactly,
question.
right? And do they really want to be dressing up and going to a location that they don't know, have a new environment, and have some random stranger with this giant camera in their face asking them to perform like a circus monkey?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I think that definitely factors in, as well as, having my two boys, like I know kind of how to read the children a little bit more. So if they are looking like, they're gonna need a little, they're running out of steam, they're gonna need a break. Being able to read the cues that maybe people who don't have kids might not just naturally know to see.
Mm-hmm.
As well as just like knowing how to try to make it fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And
I
I
don't
think
know that necessarily takes being a parent for that, but
yeah. But it takes like within that field, it takes that practice and that extra effort, whether you have kids or not. Like I've seen people who know how to put in that extra effort of like, I think you have those things around your lens, right? The little toy
yep.
things,
Yeah.
right? Like
I
there's
don't have
little
one handy,
things,
but
there's little things that you can do to make it fun for the kids as well. Because it doesn't just have to be like strict posing and do this and do that. It can be fun.
You know how many sessions include me like making fart jokes and, like lifting my leg and like when in doubt, you will
Yes.
always get a laugh.
There we go.
It might not always be from the kids. It might be more from the parents. Yeah. And then I guess also from like a motherhood perspective, like also being able to put myself in the shoes of the mom, when they are in, like, if they're a maternity client or if they're a newborn client or a birth photography client, I've been all of those people because I did have birth photography with my second son.
Mm-hmm.
And so just being like more sensitive to, their change in body, how they might be feeling, maybe any postpartum stuff that might be coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously like being in a birth situation, like that's a completely different.
Yeah. That woman does not want to pose or talk.
No, nobody. Yeah. No. Yeah. Knowing when to talk and when to hide in the background.
Yes.
And fade into the background is definitely a skill.
Yes. So you've touched on this a little bit already. So investing in yourself and the impact that that's had on your business. But like we said, there's a lot of people who are scared to do it, especially early on when the money might not be there yet. They might not have the extra funds to invest. But what would you say to somebody who's kind of sitting on the fence about that?
Two things, because I'd never say one thing. I said it before, but if you're not willing to invest in yourself, why should any other person invest in you and your business? Why should they pick you over the 20,000 other photographers? Because there's really good photographers out there, So if you can invest in yourself, you're proving to yourself and you're proving to others that you are worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And you believe that you're worth it. So there's that. Every time that I have invested, whether it's been an event, mentorship, or anything, that money has always come back. Always, like so fast. So do you need to necessarily go for the most expensive mentor out there? No. If you like figure out how much realistically like you can invest and find somebody. There are educators of all different price points, or maybe it's not a one-on-one situation. Maybe it's attending a workshop or investing in an online course or like a self-directed course.
Yeah. And is there one investment that kind of comes to mind for you that really kind of changed everything for you?
Yeah. For me, it was one-to-one mentorship. That I had invested, I think I did about a year with this one mentor, and that really like moved the needle, and she really like helped with a lot of mindset blocks, and a lot of like helping with figure out pricing. And this was when I came back from my second maternity leave and when I was doing the pivot in my business, because I didn't know kind of how to make it profitable and sustainable at that point. Because I was just like, I'm giving this one last shot and I'm going to give it like a year, 2 years. And if I'm not making like a proper like income, if I'm not making the numbers that I need to be making or want to be making, like we're going to have to pack this in. So that was the one thing that really moved the needle for me, was investing in the one-to-one.
And what do you think what do you believe is like the number one thing holding photographers back from growing their business?
Imposter syndrome. 100%. Everybody has imposter syndrome. But the thing that newer photographers don't understand is that, like, I still have imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they might look at me and they're like, holy moly, like, Melissa is killing it. And, you know, I still sit here and I'm like, oh my God, do I belong in these rooms? Like, so I think that there is like a little bit of like a fake it till you make it, but then like actually like you need to do the work to like, you know, to back it up. And what's that quote? Do you know that quote where it's like,
Which
fake it till you make it, but then like...
Act it till you are it?
Is that what it is? Maybe.
That's the one that I heard where it's like, instead of fake it till you, like, if you feel like you're faking it till you make it, start acting it till you are it.
Yeah. I think that's like more along the lines of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, that everybody just has imposter syndrome. And really working on the mindset piece of it is huge.
And the only way to do that is to do the thing, like get out there, face like that fear. There's always like that, especially when you're doing something, you're going to a different room or you're like doing a different shoot, or like there's always that uncomfortable feeling, but it's like pushing through that and proving to yourself that you can do it is the only thing that's going to
totally
make it work and make it feel better.
And I think, you know, even for myself, like every shoot, like I still walk into every shoot with a little bit of nerves. And I think that if you don't have those nerves, like even just a little bit, like you're not challenging yourself enough.
And it shows you care too. Like you still want it to be a good experience and to deliver a good quality photo shoot for your clients, right? It just shows you care.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think I messaged you the other week when I had to go to a shoot and I had like food poisoning.
Yes.
And I was like terrified that like I was gonna toss my cookies in the middle of the shoot. And, you know, I was nervous and it was a dark day and the studio was dark. And I just delivered those photos, and like there's some of my favorite photos. And I didn't toss my cookies, so that was
there. We go. That's a win. That's the win for the day. Before we get into the rapid fire questions, I want to give people kind of an opportunity to know where they can find you, where they can learn more about you, whether they're looking for family photos or they're looking to learn more about the education and your workshops and content days.
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram, so that's always the first place you can find me is Melissa Shearer Photography. My website, melissashearerphotography.com. I have a newsletter you can sign up for regular folk. That's the one, the pop-up that pops up on the website right away. And then if you navigate over to my photographer section, there's another newsletter for photographers. And that's how you can find out first about all the events that come up. I am also going to be starting a little podcast of my own. That's in the works. So, you can watch this space. Hopefully going to be launching that real soon. You've been a big help as well.
Yeah.
Giving me some tips. Yeah. And then I have a whole bunch of photographer education events coming up this year. Of a content day with Cultivate, Capture, Connection, another content day as part of a new collaboration with another photographer out in the Durham region. Are you
going to spill the tea for us? Yeah.
Yeah. So Ashley Rozicki and I are starting the podcast and a whole bunch of events. So we do have a content day workshop happening this July. We have I told you about this one? I don't even know. The overnight retreat?
I think you did. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
But spill on that one too.
So we are going to be doing a weekend retreat in Muskoka at the end of September. So watch this space. There's going to be a lot more. And that is all part of a new little brand that we are calling the Mother Clickers Collective.
I love it. I love the name. When you told me, I was like, yes, I love that.
Mother Clickers.
Mother Clickers.
You know.
Love it. Amazing. Cheek. If people follow you on Instagram, they'll be kept up to date on
everything.
All of those things. Okay.
Everything.
Amazing. Let's get into some rapid fire questions to wrap it up.
All right.
Okay. So maternity, newborn, and family. If you could only shoot one for the rest of your career, which would it be?
Can't make me.
I didn't say these were going to be fun, Melissa.
Right now, I'm saying maternity, but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, but like I like them all. Don't make me choose.
It's like choosing your favorite child, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, what's the biggest business lesson you've learned from year 1 to now?
To not be afraid to invest in yourself. Yeah.
Perfect. Tea or coffee?
Coffee. I mean, both, but coffee. Like,
Coffee's your go-to.
First coffee.
What is something about you that would surprise people?
I used to be a travel blogger in another life.
Mm-hmm.
And for a 3-year span, I just traveled the world, lived in Australia, New Zealand, and traveled through Africa. And I worked with lions.
Okay, I didn't even know that part.
No?
I
Yeah.
thought you were going to mention the...
Well, I worked on a horse farm too in New Zealand. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I was a stable hand in New Zealand.
Yeah, I didn't know the lion one, though. That's a new one for me.
I volunteered at a lion conservation project.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I should show you some of my pictures.
Yes, please do. If you had to use one word to describe your editing style, what would it be?
I think it's warm and moody, but not brown.
Mm-hmm.
Still true to life colors.
Yes.
I would say that, like warm, moody, but true to life colors.
Okay.
Like,
We'll just put hyphens in between all of that and make
Yeah.
it all one word.
yeah. Melissa, one word.
Is there a dream collab or partnership that you're calling in for 2026? I know you just spilled the tea on one of them. Is there like another one, or is that like the big one?
Right now, that's all I can kind of think about right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mother Clickers. We have some pretty big dreams and pretty big goals, so of where we might take this. So yeah, definitely follow along. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah. I can't wait to see what happens with that. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your wisdom. For the photographers out there, I know that there's a lot in my audience who are photographers as well. So can't wait for them to kind of dive in and learn all of your wisdom.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I hope people, have found value in what I've had to say. But yeah, and keep doing you, Evie, because I love your podcast. I was listening to it, when I was walking my dog the other day. And you were talking about going to events as an introvert and your kind of process. And honestly, I know I kind of present as an extrovert, but I do truly believe, like, at the heart of things, I am like an extroverted introvert. So I definitely got a lot from that. So I appreciated it. Yeah.
Thank you. I love hearing that. It still doesn't get old hearing that.
I love
so
your
thank
podcast.
you.
I love
Thank you. Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, and we will chat soon.
Sounds good. All right.
I want to take a quick moment just to thank you so much for joining me in this space, and just to encourage you that if there was anything that kind of sparked something for you, or that you felt like somebody that maybe needed to hear, please feel free to share the episode. And if you are excited to hear more, go ahead and subscribe and listen to more of the episodes. I'm so excited that you're here, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you.